The report in today's Sydney Morning Herald named 20 schools statewide marked for closure by the end of 1991. 5 of those in the Newcastle area: Charlestown Infants, Wickham Public, Williamtown, Saltash and Heaton. Regional Director of Education in the Hunter, Alan Beard, was inundated with phone calls today querying the leaked report. He said the information was simply outdated, inaccurate paperwork.
It's not real information until it's put out properly, and working documents will have all kinds of things on them that will never come to pass, and it's totally inappropriate that these sort of things happen.
Mr Beard did admit, however, there were talks underway to amalgamate Charlestown Infants with the primary school, and Heaton School may have to be closed due to extensive roadworks. Wickham, Williamtown and Saltash will remain operational. A recent announcement of possible closures of Hunter schools, plus the report today, has sent out shockwaves. Some parents fear more cuts by Dr Metherell.
He should get off his backside and get from behind the desk and come and have a look at what he's doing. It's okay for him to sit there and just say, oh, you know, that one's going. What about our kids?
Meanwhile, last week's decision by teachers to strike for pay rises has been cancelled, pending talks with the Education Department. A half-day stoppage had been planned for tomorrow. Teachers will meet on November 16 to discuss further moves. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Lance has been boxing for 8 years and works out under the guidance of father and trainer Robert. The 16-year-old is the current Australian bantamweight champion and will be fighting for his second title defence. In the recent state championships, every bout that Lance contested was stopped within the first round by knockout or by doctor's advice for Lance's opponents. He has a lightning left hand and is one of the best body punchers in the country. Lance says his main opposition at the national titles will be an Aboriginal boxer from Queensland.
Well, he's a very tough boy from Queensland, Travin Hooper. I've fought him before, but he's no mug, he's very tough.
If Lance is successful in his title defence, he intends to take on the current senior bantamweight champion, Eddie Unan, in January for a chance to join the Commonwealth Games boxing team.
The charges followed a series of raids on addresses at Wickham, Marks Point, Cardiff and Pelican. Today, police allege the arrests followed a long-term surveillance involving an informant within the motorcycle club and the extensive use of telephone taps. The appearance was accompanied by a heavy police presence. Crown Prosecutor Paul Rosser said the club's headquarters at Pelican was nicknamed The Shop due to its role as the alleged centre of an extensive amphetamine trafficking racket which included Newcastle and elsewhere. Police said surveillance of alleged drug transactions led them to estimate that the annual turnover could have been more than $1 million. Bail was opposed on the grounds of the severity of the penalties and allegations that continued surveillance indicated drug trafficking was still going on. During a mammoth committal proceeding, counsel for the accused, Sydney barrister Mr Eugene Wasselinia, said that if bail was refused, his clients could spend an unwarranted period in prison while the prosecution prepared what is likely to be an extremely complex brief. Magistrate Col Elliott, dealing with each of the applicants separately, refused bail to all the accused. They will reappear in Newcastle Court on September 15 for mention.
It had been a reception planned for the Education Minister. Concerned Cessnock parents telling It had been a reception planned for the Education Minister. Concerned Cessnock parents telling Dr Metherell exactly what they think. The parents have spent the last 7 months organising the meeting. Just 2 days ago, after a phone call to local member Bob Roberts, they discovered Dr Metherell had cancelled the trip.
It did make me angry. I resent that sort of treatment for parents generally.
Dr Metherell's office stated the minister was simply too busy with commitments in Sydney. Local member Mr Roberts said in a media release he had bent over backwards to set up the visit. However, he said, "I can fully understand the minister's reluctance in coming to a hostile environment, but our problems still will have to be addressed." At the meeting, parents spoke of those problems, attacking the government for increasing class sizes, combining some grades into composition classes and cutting teachers' numbers. Organised by the Cessnock Parents Action Group, the meeting had been expected to be huge after 9,000 letters were sent out announcing it. However, only 50 people turned up.
Mr Pickard met workers at the Munmora State coal mine face to face today and went down into the underground pit with them. Flanked by union representatives and local politicians, Mr Pickard was confident when he returned to the surface that he had set the workers straight on where they stand over the sale of a number of Elcom mines to private enterprise.
They were, with the fears that some people say, oh, we're going to lose our jobs. There's no chance. What we're looking for is to build up the industry, to get out there and to get the sales going.
Mr Pickard also took the opportunity to announce the breakup of the proposed Marty Power Station site. The breakup of the site will provide 78 building blocks, plus large tracts of industrial zone land, which will be auctioned in January. A committee will also be formed to independently assess the value of the remaining land for low-cost housing, small hobby farms and open space. Mr Pickard says the government certainly won't be giving the land away to councils or independent buyers.
We want to be able to develop it to the best advantage of the community, but it's an asset that belongs to the consumers of electricity, and I can't give anything away.
It was way back in 1968 that Aussie Joe last threw the discus in anger, and in that year he turned to boxing, becoming the youngest heavyweight fighter in the world at 17. At the age of 14, Joe held the Junior Guinness Book of Records distance for the discus at 63 metres, a record that stood until recently. Now at the tender age of, well, close to 40, Joe Bugner is in search of gold for Australia. But how seriously is he treating his comeback to athletics?
It's very serious. I mean, I wouldn't be wasting my time, or let alone Dave Puller's, because he's a damn good coach. And I believe I can do it still, and I think he does as well now, because I think from the distance that I'm thrown, it looks as though I can do it. So we're happy.
For coach Dave Puller, Joe is a shining example to the younger athletes at Westlakes, and he is developing well.
Oh, he's moved ahead quite good, technically wise. You know, he's developing quite good skills to what he was here. He wasn't too bad, but he's getting better.
One stumbling block to Joe Bugner making an Aussie team outside the obvious performance category is his reinstatement as an amateur, something that Athletics Australia are backing to the hilt. For the former pugilist turned vigneron, a trip to Auckland and Barcelona is on the blocks.
It's very, very important that I get back in there, because I've always dreamt of being a great discus thrower. I may have left it a little bit late, but I feel confident enough to represent Australia in the, maybe not the Commonwealth Games, but definitely the Barcelona.
Hundreds of people last night crowded around centre stage at Garden City for the announcement. Each of the 22 contestants made a grand entrance as the judges collated their final points. Katrina Gotch from Kilcow Heights was crowned Miss Hunter Central Coast, polling highly in the personality, grooming and caring sections of the competition. Katrina Glinch from Taree was named the region's highest fundraiser, collecting $19,000 for the Spastic Centre of New South Wales. Both women will now go on to represent the Central Coast and Hunter region at the state finals of the Miss Australia Quest.
schedule of fees will come into effect from first term. Parents of primary school students will pay $352 per annum, with reduced rates for a second or third child. A building levy on top of these fees will be at the discretion of the parish priest. In high schools, junior secondary students will pay $526, with senior students charged $973.
The increase is based on rises in the consumer price index over the last year, together with an estimate of extra income that will be needed to cover some salary costs which have already flown into the system and which will flow through either later this year and certainly during the first part of 1990.
Monsignor Coulihan is confident any additional wage hikes which may flow from the current independent teachers' industrial dispute will not be passed on to parents in 1990.
I'd be very surprised if we broke a long-standing tradition and increased fees mid-year.
The exhibition spreads over 2.5 hectares of the Newcastle Showground. With the Newcastle region surrounded by some of the most picturesque waterways in the country, boating exhibitors feature prominently. Adventure sports are becoming an increasingly popular leisure pastime and are also catered for at the exhibition, with the latest in camping equipment and barbecues. Throughout the weekend, local motorcycle clubs will stage demonstrations of motocross riding. The Hall of Industry contains 100 exhibitors alone, including pest control services and first aid equipment. And the Public Works display is sure to generate plenty of interest, with the scale model marina complete with wave tank. The summer showcase is open till 8:30 tonight and tomorrow, closing at 5 o'clock on Sunday.
The Wavemaster Pro is a Grand Prix event and will carry a AA rating. As a result, it's attracted world champion Rhys Duncan from Grafton and Australian champion John Christensen. Along with these two outstanding masters of the wave ski will be a host of local riders who will push the hotshots all the way with their insider knowledge of surf conditions. Competition begins tomorrow morning and will conclude on Sunday afternoon. Newcastle is well known for its ability to breed champions on two wheels, and this Sunday at Barley Ranch Raceway, national champions will lock wheels in the Kings of the Hunter and the Star Dirt Track Classics. Australian 250cc and 500cc champion Chris Watson will again be the man to catch, and his main opposition should come from exciting youngster Todd Wiltshire and Raymond Terrace's Craig Watt. Four-wheel action at the Motordrome tomorrow night will centre around the super sedans, with the Hunter Valley Traders Derby being the main event, a 50-lap torture for machines and men alike. John Pine will be hard to beat, as will Queenslander Keith Rubeck and Canberra's Peter Bink. Other local drivers in with the show are John Brown and Stu Robinson, who are always capable of supplying an upset or two.
These two teams have figured in some great battles over the years, and tomorrow and Sunday at the number 1 sports ground the rivalry will continue. Back to an 11 o'clock start in district cricket with Waratah Mayfield meeting Belmont, Wallsend clashing with Charlestown, Cardiff play University, Southern Lakes tackle Stockton, Merriweather meet the informed Lambton New Lambton, and City play Ham Wicks. In City and Suburban, Phoenix meet Shortland Electricity, Hotel Delaney are up against Tech College, Elliott's Lambton play Heskin Finance, and Sunnyside clash with Cardiff Workers. Still on cricket, and 4 of Newcastle's Test cricketers will join forces at the Wallsend Bowling Club on Sunday. Jim DeCourcy, Robert Holland, Gary Gilmore and Johnny Watkins will rekindle a lot of cricketing memories, with the odd double century and 10-wicket haul being spoken about over a lemonade or two.
Hundreds of people flocked to Musselbrook for the only pre-Melbourne Cup TAB meeting in the state. The 10-event program attracted plenty of interest, with horses the calibre of Western Alliance, Sunalong Lass and Fromoli all jumping. Today's racing was classed as only a warm-up by race officials, who expect a crowd of 8,000 for tomorrow's Musselbrook Cup. The local racing circuit also has a strong connection with Australia's premier horse race, the Foster's Melbourne Cup. Broadmeadow trainer Paul Perry has sent 2 horses to the Garden State for the Cup, Homemade in 1986 and Copper Tonic, who ran 7th in last year's Cup. Paul says although he doesn't have a horse in this year's race, he can still pick a winner.
I thought the mare, if the going's all right, Empire Rose would win the race, but I believe it's raining now in Melbourne, and I think if it does rain, Kosh King, I thought, he's got a bit of form in the heavy going, and his form's very good. I thought he'd be hard to beat.
Jockey Robert Thompson rode Reckless Tradition in the 1987 Cup and says it's one of the high points of any jockey's career.
It's unbelievable, Darren. I think probably even when you start off to be a jockey and all that, it's got to be every jockey's dream to win a Melbourne Cup, but to just even get a ride in it is still unbelievable. And the day down there and the atmosphere, it's unreal.
However, today's feature race at Musselbrook was race 7, the Sir Hans Skeletor Sprint Handicap, over 980 metres. Jockey Scott Thurlow guided the chestnut Sunalong Lass in for his 7th win.
She's a bonny mare, Sunalong Lass, goes away to beat King Justify and Haley's Orbiter. In 4th place, Star Gatana followed up.
The winner, Sunalong Lass, paid $1.50 and $1.20. Number 6, King Justified, paid $5.80, and there was no third dividend due to a lack of starters. The Quinella on numbers 1 and 6 paid $18.50. Three months ago, the Dixon Park Surf Club folded. The blame for the demise was levelled at the failure to separate the liabilities of the licensed section of the club from the beach patrols and competitive side of the club. So once the licensed section stumbled, the rest of the club followed into voluntary liquidation. The Newcastle branch of the Surf Lifesaving Association stepped in and purchased $10,000 worth of essential rescue gear, which was returned at the start of the season with the understanding the loan would be repaid gradually once the club became operational. Last Sunday, Coastal Concrete offered the club a $45,000 sponsorship over 3 years. Manager of Coastal Concrete, Warwick Lilly, says his company could see plenty of reasons for cementing the club a firm future.
As our name suggests, Coastal Ready Mix, I guess the people at Dixon Park thought, well, we might be interested. They approached us and through their efforts, we could see a good club deserving of our support.
Many people liken the club's newfound success to that of the Phoenix, rising from the ashes to be born again. Club President Dave Ringland believes in that analogy and says the $45,000 will be spent wisely.
Well, they're being spread over all of the areas of the club. There'll be some going to the IRB section of the club, some to the nippers and some to the general senior club membership.
Dixon Park for many years has also been one of the strongest boat competitors in the country. In fact, the club is the current state senior champions. The new sponsorship will also provide for a boat shed to be constructed at Horseshoe Beach, saving valuable training time normally wasted through travelling. Dave Ringland says the sponsorship, already a week old, has lifted the morale of all members.
It's been really heartening to see the way that the members have come back to the club. We've got 100 active members, we've got 16 patrols on the beach, we've got a really strong nipper group coming through with 100 plus members that are doing exceptionally well in competition. Yes, it is good to see.
The bronzed Aussies of Dixon Park will be on patrol right throughout this summer, firm in the knowledge that the board won't be pulled from under them, and they have the ability to plan ahead with security of a 3-year sponsorship.
The enrolment deadline, the 1st of next month, means that HSC students, none of whom will receive their marks until the 12th of January, will be forced to apply for TAFE enrolment within the next 3 weeks or risk losing out on a place. About 20% of last year's HSC students attended vocational TAFE courses. This year, 55,000 students set for the HSC, which means under normal circumstances, 11,000 of them could be expected to apply for places at TAFE colleges next year. The students usually wait until their results are known before deciding on the best study options for their future careers. TAFE officials say they have a clear reason for bringing the application enrolment date forward.
That enables us to plan our facilities and usage much more efficiently than was the case in previous years.
If students don't enrol by December 1, will TAFE colleges take late applications for when they do know what they want to study?
Late enrolments for HSC students will be allowed in February.
But what if courses are already filled by December applicants?
Well, it depends which course they're doing. You know, if they want to take a course that's not full, then obviously they can enrol at that stage. If the course is full and we don't have any more facilities, well, they'll have to wait another year.
In another change, TAFE administration has decided to scrap these large newspaper advertisements, firstly because it wants to save money, but secondly because it says everyone already knows what courses colleges run. Instead, prospective students can go to their local newsagent and pick up one of these TAFE handbooks, which cost $8.50, or they can go to their local college and they'll hand over these types of brochures. As for country students who live far away from a college, the TAFE director says they should phone up and information will be sent to them.
It's the old story that if somebody's interested in a course, they will approach the college. I'm quite sure of that.
Curry Court sits sometimes just 3 times a month, yet it has a case backlog of up to 4 months. Today, Attorney General Dowd promised to cut that back with an extra magistrate in the Hunter next year, enabling increased court sittings.
We've already brought down delays in the outer metropolitan areas quite significantly from what they were. They're up to a year or 9 months and so on in the bush, and they're still pretty bad in the city. But here, as a growth area, and unfortunately in terms of court work and crime, that we are going to have to put additional resources here.
The government hopes at best to get delays down to 4 weeks. Meanwhile, the minister going through the official motions of this visit opened $233,000 worth of extensions to the courthouse. A new ramp now gives access for the handicapped, and court conditions have been improved with new toilets, staff amenities and magistrate chambers. Here on a 2-day visit of the Hunter, the Attorney General has also ordered maintenance work for Maitland and Singleton courts next year. Peter Ryan, NBN News.